The Battle of Manado was a battle of the Pacific theater of World War II. It occurred at Manado on the Minahasa Peninsula on the northern part of the island of Celebes, from 11 to 13 January 1942 as an attempt to open a passage to attack Australia through the eastern part of Dutch East Indies. Defences in Manado. The Dutch force at Manado area numbered approximately 1,500 men under command of Major B.F.A. Schillmoller. Compagnie Manado, a native unit 188 men strong. This company was reinforced with 2 or 3 Vickers machine gun sections and was commanded by Captain W.F.J. Kroon. Mobile Colon. This mobile unit had about 45 men and was commanded by Sergeant Major A.J. Tervoet. It was intended to be used against Japanese paratroopers. Reserve Corps Sud Militaren. This unit was made up from 5 companies of retired KNIL personnel with an average age of over 50 and was commanded by Captain W.C. van den Berg. Kortverband Compagnie of 9 brigades under the command of Captain J.D.W.T. Abink. Europe's Militaire en Landstorm Compagnie, about 200 men strong but poorly trained, commanded by First Lieutenant F. Masselink. Minadonese Militaire Compagnie, about 400 native troops under the command of Captain J.H.A.L.C. Biswart. Stadswat, about 100 men strong armed with old hunting rifles and commanded by First Lieutenant M.A. Nolthenius de Man. 2 artillery guns Lang 35 Model 1902. 3 very old 37 mm naval guns, placed on trucks. They were used to defend Lake Tondano. With such a limited force, Major Schillmoller had to defend the airfields at Langoin and at Mapangat, the naval base at Tasoka and Manado. Japanese forces and planning. The main Japanese fleet, which launched the attack on the East and Dutch East Indies, was under the command of Vice Admiral Ibo Takahashi, and was intended to land at Manado, Kendari, Ambon, Makassar, Timor and Bali. The Imperial Japanese Navy planned to use the Sasebo Combined Landing Force as well as the Yokosuka 1st SNLF as a paratrooper unit. Sasebo Combined Landing Force. The combined Sasebo SNLF was about 2,500 men strong under the command of Captain Kunazo Mori. It had been formed temporarily from the Sasebo 1st SNLF and the Sasebo 2nd SNLF units. A company of Type 95 Hargo light tanks was attached to the unit. The combined Sasebo SNLF would depart Davao on the 9th of January, and the assault would occur in the early hours of the 11th of January. The Sasebo 1st SNLF would land on the coast of the peninsula on both sides of Manado town, occupy it, then advance toward Kakash the following day. The Sasebo 2nd SNLF would land at Kema on the southeast side of the peninsula and advance towards Kakash and Lake Tondano. 1st Yokosuka SNLF. The 1st Yokosuka SNLF was a paratrooper unit under Commander Toyoaki Horiuchi. The troops would fly about 380 miles from Davao, Philippines and jump over Langoin to capture the airfield. The first drop group would jump at 9:30 on the 11th of June. It consisted of 334 men, organized into a HQ unit, a signal unit and 2 rifle companies. The first company would attack Langoin while the second company would capture the seaplane base at Kakash. The second drop group, consisting of the third company, would jump on Langoin airfield on the 12th of June as reinforcements. 22 men would depart on the 11th aboard 2 Kawanishi H-6K5 Mavis flying boats and land on Lake Tondano. This group consisted of an gun unit armed with a 37mm gun and a medical section. The Mitsubishi G-3M transport aircraft of the 1st Yokosuka SNLF would fly with an interval of 1,500 meters between each company, with 10 aircraft for the 1st and 2nd companies and 8 aircraft for the 3rd company. Each plane carried 12 paratroopers and 7 cargo containers. The drops would occur at an altitude of 500 feet and at a speed of 100 knots. Navy ships Teikoku Kai gun. The convoy was escorted by Rear Admiral Reizo Tanaka with 2nd Destroyer Flotilla Light Cruiser Jintsu 8th Destroyer Division, Oshio, Asashio 15th Destroyer Division, Natsushio, Kuroshio, Oyashio, Hayashio 16th Destroyer Division, Ukakazi, Tokitsukas, Hatsukas, Amatsukas. The Japanese Air Force was under command of Rear Admiral Ruotaro Fujita with 11th Seaplane Division seaplane carrier Chitose seaplane carrier Mizuho, patrol boat P-39. Base Force was under command of Rear Admiral Kyuji Kubo with 1st Base Force Light Cruiser Nagara patrol boats P-1, P-2, P-34. 21st Minesweeper Division Minesweepers, W7, W8, West 9, W11, West 12. 1st Submarine Chaser Division Submarine Chasers, CH-1, CH-2, CH-3. Covering force was under command of Rear Admiral Takeo Takagi. 5th Cruiser Squadron Heavy Cruisers, Nachi, Haguro, Myoko. 6th Destroyer Division Destroyers, Ikazuchi, Inazuma. Landing on Manado. The unit of Compagnie Manado, which numbered only 188 men under Captain W.F.J. Croonin Landstorm Compagnie with its 200 troops under First Lieutenant F. Masselink, were not enough to oppose thousands of Japanese amphibious assault at 400 on the 11th of January 1942. Initially, when the defense failed, they were instructed to retreat to Tin-Or stronghold, located some 5 miles inland. After some sporadic fights and due to poor communication, instead defending Tin-Or line, the Compagnie Manado had to move to Koa. The Tin-Or was defended by Lieutenant Vandela from Reserve Corps Sud Militaren and the reinforcement from Landstorm Compagnie under 1st Lt. Masselink. The fighting at Tin-Or lasted until 1500 when the KNIL was out of ammunition and had to retreat to Kakashkasan. Landing on Kema, the Reserve Corps Sud Militaren, under the command of Lieutenant Raidmar, was responsible for the defense of Kema. He had 2 of his brigades placed along the coastline and 1 at his CP at Ajamadidi. The rest of the company had to defend Mapang at airfield, like Oapang and Baitoang. The landings at Kema started at 300 on the 11th of January and were made swiftly. The Japanese transport ships quickly left the area. When Raidmar heard about the Japanese landing, he immediately ordered his troops to regroup at Ajamadidi. When the first Japanese troops, including 3 tanks, reached Ajamadidi at 900, Raidmar tried to stop the Japanese advance with few available troops. But at last, Raidmar had to withdraw from Ajamadidi and planned to start a guerrilla war. However, due to high rate of native troops desertion, he had to give up this plan. The airborne attack. The defense of Lake Tondano and the airfield at Longoan was under the responsibility of the so-called Tactical Command Kakash with commanding officer, Captain W.C. van den Berg. Kakash is a small town name near Lake Tondano. The airfield itself was defended by the 41 Brigades under the command of 1st Lieutenant J.G. Wheelinger. This unit was reinforced with one of the Overvalwagens. Wheelinger had his command post at the Kampong Langoan, where he held 11 brigades back in reserve. The rest of his troops and the Overvalwagen were placed at the airfield. Sergeant Major H.J. Robbermond was in command. Shortly after 900 on the 12th of January, 334 Japanese paratroopers were dropped on and around the airfield. Having heard the dropping, Captain van den Berg ordered the 2 remaining Overvalwagens to attack the airfield. Although the Japanese paratroopers suffered heavy casualties, they succeeded in capturing the Langoan airfield. Enraged by the heavy losses, the Japanese executed a large number of KNIL POWs. Knowing that the battle was lost, van den Berg ordered his remaining troops to retreat inland and start a guerrilla war. The guerrilla war. In several places, the remaining KNIL forces tried to start a guerrilla war against the Japanese invaders. Captain Croon assembled what was left of the Manado Compagnie and retreated toward Kembis, hoping to start an active guerrilla from this place. Due to regular desertions by his native soldiers, he reached Kembis with only 9 men left. Here the group was taken prisoner by the Japanese. All European members, except Croon himself, were executed at Langoan on the 16th of January. Sergeant Maliza from E Company did not want to surrender and started a guerrilla force with 15 of his men. On the 8th of February, they attacked a Japanese unit at Kanajan. The fighting lasted the whole day, and the Japanese counter-attack failed. Outraged, they burned nearby Kampung and executed 5 civilians. On the 12th of February, they came back with a larger force, and this time captured Maliza's group. Maliza too was executed at Langoan with 12 of his men. Captain Van den Bergs and his group were taken prisoner on the 20th of February. His group, made up of pensioners, attacked the Japanese units on several occasions and inflicted heavy casualties. Out of respect for the high average age and fighting spirit, the Japanese commander spared their lives. Capture of Kendari. Kendari is a small town on southeast Celebes, facing the Banda Sea and Moluccas. Nonetheless, it had an important position for the Japanese to become an airbase from which the bombers and airplanes could attack Soerabaja and Kupang in West Timor. Soerabaja was the main Dutch naval base in Dutch East Indies. After securing Manado, in the night of 23–24 January 1942, the Japanese Sasebo Combined Special Naval Landing Force moved southward and landed at north of Kendari. Kendari airfield was quickly secured with little resistance. By the evening of the 24th of January, Kendari was fully occupied. Most of the 400-strong Dutch KNIL troops led by Captain F.B. Van Stralen were captured by Japanese. Kendari Air Base became the base for the Japanese 21st Air Flotilla operation. Slightly south of Kendari, a main naval base at Staring Bay was constructed to become an important refueling checkpoint in that area. The bombers involved in bombing of Darwin were flown from Kendari.